So I invite you also, as you notice things, good and bad, particularly on this topic of integrity, that you are feeding this back to us through your contact. Through me, if you need to, it's fine, right? Because we make mistakes. Sometimes it can be honest, and sometimes we have bad actors. I mean, it's life. So we have to be really, really careful about this. We respect your businesses. You have a brand, we have a brand. We don't want either brand to become some kind of tarnish situation where we've kind of lost our way. And then, we have all these government entities and other people getting involved to kind of hit us all in the head. No one needs this. We have enough, I think we have enough work to do. So I mentioned not particularly the word transparency, but I think it's in the message, right, about how we have to be responsible on this topic. And then my favorite C word of all is this word, collaboration. Wow, that's an important word. It's great when it's working, and it's painful when it's not, right? We all have people like this. We are working in a 80,000 person company. We are in 54 countries. We have thousands and thousands of clients, and no one is going to love everyone. It's a fact. Tell me I'm wrong. It's a fact, right? I mentioned culture a few minutes ago. How we push through these barriers define success, in my view. We talked about the countries as far as where we are set up. We can kind of share a little bit more in that. I would say of the 10 major countries we are kind of working in, there are 3 or 4 that I would say are running at, some level of high to medium capacity. So we have a huge amount of chance to grow in this business. The other reason we invited you here is to kind of understand from your side what shifts we need to make in our own strategy to better meet your needs, whether it's by geography or whether it's by technology. So, for example, if you are making some expansion in Nepal, we may or may not know this, right? We have, I think, very solid hit rate technology when it comes to projects we have clarity on. I think also at the same time, the radar system is not always telling us what's out there. So we miss some things. And some of those things, frankly, are owned by you. And if we can get better at kind of having a bit of an intelligence from you, a guy like Philippe, that can kind of help us get clear on where we should be pointing ourselves, it will only help, right? And we like the idea of porting technology from one site and making it essentially this sister plant, if you say it this way, where we can have even common service in respect to the site itself. But we'll talk about that. So I don't need to go down the list. I think most of you know here as far as where we are sitting with lubricants and paints. We are getting back, I would say, on a full-time, meaningful basis into pulp and paper. Due to some internal logistics, I would say that the Cellier business sort of got a little bit of distance in paper. But we see an opportunity to go back there, both on the install base side as well as on the greenfield side. And so this is sort of the constellation that I would describe. The next one. This is only a breakdown, I would say, of what I said, with the exception of longer-term ambition of adding back food and beverage and adding back pharma, right? And some of the diversified companies have also specialty chemical involved, or even have pharmaceutical divisions involved. And there may be some room for us to kind of learn a bit from you in some of those places. Okay, so we go to the next one. So this one is an important chart. So I wanna look a little bit backwards. I think someone mentioned that we're not taking pictures, so please don't take pictures. I can get myself in trouble, or you can get me in trouble, yeah. So this is going back to 19, and we had some ambitions in 19. The way that we were set up in 19, we had basically, for lack of a more appropriate term, a division called chemical and refining. Blending was part of this. And we set some ambition to get to a 600 million number by 2025. All right, so the markets became extremely stable. Capital investment allowed us to basically achieve these numbers by 2022, right? So we had really good headwinds, but this is a lot of what we did. We got really good at our operations management solutions with Gino and digital. Gino's going to talk to us in a bit. We did okay in account management, and I think this is obviously a grade that you are more qualified to give than we are. And then we went into some geographies, and we started to expand the offering around automation and electrical, a little bit of telecoms, but mainly more like software. And these were kind of the core things that we took with us. And this drove our business. This sustained our business. This allowed us, frankly, to continue growing even during COVID, when we saw a lot of our competitors sort of struggling. So we were kind of, I think, quite proud about how we managed ourselves in advance of a global pandemic. Go to the next one, please. So this one is where we're going. So what are we doing here? And how does this impact you? So we have to get good at our commercial side and our supplier side. I mentioned this earlier, right? I'm sure you have some favorite partners and suppliers that are important to you. So that's good for us to know and understand. How we become important in some of these execution jobs, I think will predict the future as far as how we win. We also have some M&A ambitions, right? We want to be a bit more active on the merger and acquisition side and on the partnering side, because we expect to see this area continue to grow. You've seen this yourself, right? I mean, you're all sitting in these spaces. So again, similarly, we've taken a hard look at the geographies, and we're taking a hard look at technology, and then kind of reimagining a few things on the M&A piece. So this is just a snapshot of what the people that are supporting you in this room are kind of up to on a day-to-day basis. Many of you know us from blending specific and only blending, but ABB, the company, probably not so much, right? So part of our mandate is to bring software and to bring electrical and to bring robotics and motion into your businesses in a meaningful way, because historically we've been sort of like very one or two dimensional, right? So that's why that collaboration word I mentioned earlier is so important. So what are some of the mega trends we're seeing around automation and globalization? We've made a couple investments in sustainability. If you are running any kind of facility that has a furnace or a gas-fired furnace, I think we've done a nice job of creating some solutions that are more electric drive. And I would invite a conversation on this during one of the breakouts as we need this. But look, Europe particularly, I don't need to say this to you, there's not a lot of greenfield investment. I can tell you in our business, we've seen exactly one greenfield in the last 10 years. That was in Poland. We did win this job on the automation side, but historically it's quite difficult, right? Because governments have put in quite a few restrictions. So our greenfield business is largely sitting in Asia, maybe some parts of Central America, US, but not a lot of greenfield. Some level of expansion. And if you are interested in some level of expansion here, then we would like to be a part of that design so that we can help design a sustainable expansion, or even better, a sustainable greenfield, so that we are kind of meeting the mandate of what government A or EU policy B is kind of telling us. Same in US. I mean, we're all kind of under, I think, a little bit of pressure on some of these topics in a good way. And then you can flip to the next one. So this is a little bit about the Coolbrook solution. So if you're familiar with Brightlands, just across the border from Belgium, it's really quite a neat place. It's a think tank. Has anyone been there ever? No one's been to Brightlands. If you Google Brightlands Camelot, you'll get quite a bit of data on this. So Aramco, Sabic, Dow, BP, they all have basically technology centers at this Brightlands campus. and the campus is purposely designed to allow for innovation and pilots. It would be interesting for you guys. So the idea here is we, ABB, made an investment in an electric cracker. We did a bit of a study on the inside to determine if it was better to make it or to potentially partner with it. Long story short, we decided on the partner side. And our ambition is to take future sites and crack hydrocarbons based on an electric drive platform, right? Now, the question that instantly comes up is, yeah, but what about the source? Are you still getting power from coal or power from natural gas? The answer there today is yes, but that's more of a value chain topic. And that value chain topic is not part of what ABB historically, that's not our lane, right? We don't typically play in that lane. But the idea here is if you may have a pilot, whether it's even in steel or in paper or a traditional chemical, where we could partner together and kind of see how these things can impact you. It's a true way of impacting sustainability statistics. It's a way for us to impact your business and a way for you to impact your clients, and also a way for you to then create this circular reporting process where you can claim real benefit. So think of it in the lane of energy transition, right? Because in the energy transition space, this is not our first transition. I think sometimes people think about energy transition as a new terminology, right? But I mean, just go back to when we were burning wood and people were then, we got into steam and coal and natural gas and crude. So we've had probably 7 or 8 energy transitions, and I think the electrification of our industries is one of the important segments. We're kind of on the rise. So these are some of the statistics specifically related to e-cracking and some of the industries that we have targeted. I can tell you that every single industry represented here has an active pilot going, whether it's CEMEX or whether it's BASF, whether it's SABIC. I mean, we have been able to really, I think, do a good job. There's been some discussion with Shell for the Shell folks in the room, but nothing has materialized so far that I'm aware of. And I think at this point, I probably would be aware of it. But it's something I want you to take with you as you're heading back home later or tomorrow morning. And then the next chart looks a bit like this. So our building blocks between products and solutions, what we're doing with industrial software, right? And then kind of like this integration piece. So I would say we are largely integrators. We are engineers, we are design people. Typically you are asking us for a netted solution or some kind of a suite of netted solutions, and this is where we shine. We also have products, right? You can go to our electrical friends that sit in a division called EL, which obviously, hopefully, stands for electrical, and you can buy product from them. And some of you probably do that. But if you are looking for some kind of a solution that is kind of shipped or designed or installed in place, this is the group that is largely responsible for making sure your project meets the requirements that you have mandated for us. If you've ever had success by yourself, you probably know it's not as much fun as when you have success with someone else, right? It's nice to have a victory when no one's around, but when you have a victory and no one's around, right? So it's not a shared moment. And I think for us, the idea here is to create meaningful business in a shared way with responsible partners, right? And that's kind of one of the takeaways that I would ask for today.